Should energy drinks be banned for the under-16s? 0207 862 2222 is the number to give us a ring. Labour has pledged to ban them for children under 16 because they are dangerous. They're dangerously high in caffeine. Their content. Sir Keir Starmer, the Labour leader, said, we'll stop it. I will always take the tough decisions necessary to keep our children healthy. Up to a third of UK children consume at least one every week. Up to a third, that's a massive number. The ban would mean children could not buy drinks containing more than 150 milligrams of caffeine per litre. So let's take a look at some of the energy drinks that we might be floating around in our minds. So Monster has the highest caffeine content here. This has 160 milligrams of caffeine, and it would not be allowed under this ban. Then we have the rest of them, I think, would be allowed under this ban. We've got Prime here, just to make this really clear, this is Prime Hydration, it says under here. That would be allowed. They also do a Prime Energy. That would not be allowed because it has a much higher caffeine content. Then we've got Lucozade. I think that has a lower content, so that would be... that wouldn't be banned. Then we've got Coca-Cola. I thought Coca-Cola would be banned. We've got Diet Coke and Coca-Cola, both would be allowed, but the interesting thing is actually Diet Coke has a higher caffeine content than regular Coke, which shocked me. So a ban on the really caffeinated drinks like Monster. Happy with that?
I think it's a great idea. I think when we're talking about looking after young people, it's not just the youth violence and whether they wear skirts to school or not. It's actually looking about what goes into their body. And I think if you think about cultures like Japan, they have an amazing culture of caring about nutrition and what goes into our young people. And that obviously extrapolates into their health into the older years. And actually the Labour government in 97, and between 97 and 2000, were working with food companies to actually take sugar out of foods because they understood the impact on things like blood sugars and heart failures and blood pressure. And those kind of strategies is what government should be doing, is working to make these adjustments. Now, it's not the headline policy, it's not fancy, but it's incredibly important. And actually, you would never give someone under 16 a cup of coffee. So giving them one of these just feels just as absurd. No,
but you wouldn't give somebody under the age of 16 a cigarette either, for example. But in the past, they have been able, and still today, they've managed to get hold of them. Is it enforceable, Carole?
It's totally not enforceable. You know, we know now that, you know, they're talking about, you know, sending the cops to shops where kids are trying to buy them. You can't get a cop to go to a shop now where someone's stealing 5 legs of lamb under his arm. It's not going to happen with an energy drink. It's just, to me, it's a silly policy. You know, the policies about the energy drinks rear their head every couple of years. And in 2008, the EU forced France to lift it had a ban on Red Bull, which one can of Red Bull, if you remember, which I used to quite like the taste of, actually. But anyway, one can contains 80 milligrams of caffeine, which is millilitres, which is the same amount as 1 cup of coffee. So France had to lift their ban on it. And I just think, you know, we talk about, Marvyn's talking about controlling what goes into kids' bodies. You know, Mexico famously introduced a sugar tax, and a lot of these things contain a lot of sugar. And it didn't work, you know, it didn't work.
What do you mean it didn't work?
Well, I'll tell you why. Because what they did was the research showed that a reduction, it only represented the sugar tax and the saving of drinking fizzy drinks. It only represented a 6.6 calorie per person reduction in 4 years. That's why they don't work.
But we had a sugar tax here and it worked.
They don't work. Why do you think they're working?
Well, they work because they have forced food manufacturers to reduce the amount of sugar in their fizzy drinks.
But people still get their sugar in other ways. You can reduce it in one product, but you get it somewhere else. And if it's working, why are obesity levels soaring as we speak? You know, we have so much
food with sugar in it. Like, it's an absurd amount. And I think the thing is, we have to.
Everything.
It's sugar. The fact is, we have to look at every single source. Energy drinks are one important source to review. And I think it's absolutely absurd that these things are readily available to 16-year-olds or people under 16. And it's really important that, yes, maybe we can't police it and you're not going to, you know, tackle somebody buying an energy drink, but you make it be clear that actually you're not allowed to sell it to people of a certain age.
But how can you tell their age?
It's the same thing with cigarettes, same thing with alcohol. It's the exact same process.
How can you say a 16-year-old, the guy says you can't have that.
Challenge 25 has been very, very successful.
The kid says, I'm 16. What are you going to do?
Challenge 25 has been very successful under the idea that if you don't look under 25, if you do look under 25, we will challenge you.
It's unenforceable.
Other places like Tesco's, Boots, And
some of them have chicks.
have already, ASDA have
Yes.
already decided not to sell these
And that's
drinks
good.
to
That's
children.
responsible.
That is very good.
Rebecca from Lancashire, what do you think? Do you think an outright ban is the right way to go?
Well, I agree with Carole. It's definitely not enforceable. What happened to parenting?
Yes.
First point.
Do you think parents know how much caffeine are in these drinks?
No.
should.
And
Well,
this is what I was going to say. And Marvyn, no matter how well-intentioned, I'm afraid he's wrong about what Labour did. What Labour did was to stop sugar drinks, instead of which we now have so-called reduced sugar drinks, which contain, very many of them, aspartame, which causes cancer.
Yes.
And
Hold on, we can't
they
say that aspartame
encourage
causes
people-
cancer. In fact, I think
Sorry?
Cancer
All
Research
right, but
UK
they
doesn't
might-
say that
they
on their
might,
website.
yeah.
So I'm
Yeah,
just
they
be
might decline
careful
that.
with that.
But it does, on the other hand, very much cause people to have sweet tooth.
Yes.
Because I once had Coke, Diet Coke, which is interesting. It has more caffeine, isn't it? And I hated it because it tasted so sweet. Why do you think we now have cupcakes all over the place? Because people's tastes have been trained to want more sweet food. And this has come about because of the reduced sugar drinks. Kids should be drinking water.
Yes,
all the
but how
time,
do we make
apart from
that
one
happen?
Drink a week.
With this policy.
Lack of education. When I brought my son up, he's now 28. He would go to parties where they were all drinking fruit shoots, and he would ask for water. And he's as healthy as anything.
Which is
And he
amazing.
still drinks water.
Which is amazing. Slightly unrealistic, I think, potentially for the whole of the UK.
Why? It's free.
But I
As
wonder.
unrealistic as this policy is, Storm.
But no,
How can you blame
you
the
can't
policy?
ask shopkeepers to do what parents should be doing.
approach to challenge this is somehow worse than just letting sugar pervade and caffeine pervade everywhere, because I don't understand why.
There is
perfectly
no
good sense
evidence that
putting a
exists,
policy
Marvyn.
in place is a much better indicator than doing nothing.
Marvyn, there is no evidence that exists that says something like Red Bull and the amount that's in it is any worse than any other caffeinated drink.
How can you
Like,
advocate for caffeine in under 16-year-olds? In what universe?
Who says I'm advocating for it under
So what is the
Hold on,
problem with the
high
policy?
problem
caffeine
is-
can give children headaches. It can make them not concentrate in class. It can disturb their sleep. There are lots of things that have.
Do you know what,
get addicted to it.
Labour should be doing? They should be concentrating on the overconsumption of alcohol in teens, cannabis, amphetamines, vape. What are you laughing
You can't
at?
buy that stuff in the shop.
What
It's
are
not
you laughing at?
available.
I'm afraid
you can't go into a shop
you
and
can
buy amphetamines
you can
and
buy
THC.
nicotine
You can
vapes.
go into your local
You can
shop
buy-
and buy
Marvyn,
any of these
stop.
in abundance.
Okay, that's it.
Don't talk
First
over me if
round
you're not
done.
going to
I'm
listen
going
to
back
it
to the calls.
You can go into shop and you can get a nicotine vape.
Carol. Paul
not bad.
from West
If you
Rebecca,
insist.
thank you. Paul from West Yorkshire. That's enough of that, you two. What's your thoughts on this? Is an outright ban the right way to go?
Not at all. I'm 40 years of age. I've been drinking energy drinks since they first came out, and I'm absolutely healthy.
Okay.
All they've got to do is just put a health warning on.
Exactly.
Okay.
Iron Brew has a health warning saying not suitable for young children.
Okay.
Right.
Yes. And
That's all they've got to do. It cannot be policed. It's down to parents whether they want their children to drink it or not.
it's really difficult to disprove the whole of science just with your one example of yourself. But I take it that that's great. You've managed to consume all this horrible stuff and still been incredibly healthy. Saying
I
horrible,
still
just the
drink
amount
it
of
to
sugar
this
and
day.
caffeine.
Paul's point is absolutely right, because these drinks are not lethal, but stupidity is lethal. You wouldn't drink 10 cups of coffee in a
You can't
row.
police stupidity.
But I do wonder whether, Paul, you would agree that actually if you do an outright ban on all of these energy drinks for children under 16, it would make parents think twice, oh, why is there a ban? I'm probably not going to give them a chance. It would increase quite quickly the education in parents to say, that's it, you're not getting that, because if the government says that it's not good for you, I'm not going to be the parent that gives you it. Paul?
No, it's not down to the government. It's down to the parents.
You're right.
The government shouldn't be telling people what they can and cannot do. When government was first put in place,
But that's what
there
they
was
do.
a
That's what
charter
governments
to
do.
say that we would be free of liberty, which means from interference. They should not be telling us how to live our lives.
But Paul, they already do.
crazy.
They tell you need to wear a seatbelt. They tell you need to stop at a red light.
law, that's
They tell you-
different,
yes,
though.
but they're still telling you what to do.
Laws. That's different.
Yes.
Well, that's what
But
this would
when
be.
it comes to our
The law.
health, we are free of liberty.
Okay.
When it comes to your health, well, no,
So
you're not
are they
allowed to
gonna
take
ban-
heroin. You're not
Yeah,
allowed to
there's
take.
loads of things you can't do.
Are they
going to
ban coffee then? Are they going to say to us,
In
if
under
you're going to
16,
follow
yes.
this logic, are they going to say to people, OK, you can't have 3 cups of coffee in a row?
No, if you're under 16, you can absolutely mandate the amount of consumption of things that could be problematic to you, not just you as an individual in your present, but also your health in the
We do
future.
mandate
and this
the
is this
consumption
is why it's super
of things that are
important
bad for
to
them,
put
like
these
alcohol.
things in place, because it creates a conversation and parents then understand what the guidelines are and have a much clearer line in terms of
But
what
you
their
make
children are
them
allowed to
more
do.
attractive by banning
no, you
them.
do not.
You do make
This
them.
idea that because it's
Alcohol is
illegal,
more
that what do you
attractive
think it is, a
because it's
shiny thing,
illegal.
and they're like too stupid
Yeah,
to not buy it?
alcohol
The conversation
is a shiny
of
thing
not
when you're
being
16.
that's not the reason why alcohol is alluring
You
to
don't
people.
address any points, do you? You just
I
just
do,
keep
because
on
it's
going.
so basic.
Address
You're
the fact-
under 16 and the caffeine
Okay,
intake will
so-
be problematic to your
Carole,
health.
Marvyn,
Alcohol is
finish and then you
illegal
can
for
talk.
under 16s.
I would love to finish one of my points. Any
Alcohol
of them.
is illegal for under 16s, and they still do it.
Yeah, but they don't do it because it's alluring and it's illegal.
Yes,
they
they
do
do.
it because it takes you out of yourself and it actually is
Okay,
a
Carole,
hallucinogen.
as a
You've
caffeine-
got 20 seconds. How
as a
would, how
caffeine
would you
drink
reduce
would
this
take you.
being consumed by young people? You've got 10 seconds now.
Well, if,
Yes.
if that monster is how many milliliters?
160.
Well, get rid of that one. But you can't ban all caffeine drinks.
Okay,
you
well, that's
can't
what-
have a blanket.
just
That's
did that.
literally what
So
they've
we
done.
agree. Thank
Okay,
you.
we're going to wrap up.